Welcome. Gonna have fun today, man. All right. What's up, everybody? This is the Sam Jack Podcast. Thank you so much for joining. Before we start the show, I just want to give a little intro to what's going on here and a little backstory to the show. Okay, that's a little better. All right. I tricked you with the double glasses. Anyways, I am Sam, DJ Lumberjack. This is the Sam Jack Podcast. I'm not a professional, but wait, I am. So, Sam Jack, DJ Lumberjack, what's that all about? Well, I was a DJ in my former life, and then I worked my way up in the broadcasting, mainly mobile sports, live TV field as a broadcast technician and freelancer. But I also started a company called Viral Media Network. Now, about 5 years ago, I started a podcast called the Sam Jack Podcast. I'm not a professional, but wait, I am. It's all about the freelance technician, all about the creative entrepreneur, anyone out there, whether you're a musician, performer, filmmaker, stagehand, entrepreneur, maybe you make your own crafts, chairs, furniture, artwork, sculpture, whatever you do to be creative and make your own path, carve your own path. I want to have a conversation with you. So we started it about 5 years ago, and it was great. We had a multi-camera shoot. We did in-person interviews, and make sure to check that out. You can see it on the Viral Media Network webpage, Viral Media Network 415. And you can see there, make sure to subscribe on the subscribe button. Look at that. We've got 92 subscribers. We are 8 subscribers away from getting 100. Now, I know there's a lot of you out there that are like, only 100 subscribers, that's nothing. Well, Rome wasn't built in a day, and when I started Viral Media Network, I started it with a partner. That partner had left, and when I started the podcast, it was really just me trying to navigate, but also make money in my freelance career. So I did 7 great episodes. Make sure to check that out. Subscribe to it on our YouTube channel. But it kind of stopped after 7 episodes because started getting more serious in my career. Worked my way up in the seniority, and of course at that time, Warriors playoffs Warriors were going crazy, so a lot of work there, a lot of work with both baseball teams in the San Francisco Bay Area, and so I was working my way up, and I also bought a house, got married, had a baby, but of course COVID hit, and when that happened, basically I was forced, sports ended, and that was most of my work was through that union or through that crewer. And I had done some other stuff, but other large events and other events where I had been doing production stopped. Everything canceled. So it forced me to get back into the podcast, of course, via the satellite remote Zoom interviews that you've seen. But I've done 10 episodes since the pandemic. This is the 18th episode, episode 8, which is the first one started in 2020 during the pandemic with Rob Reddy. And we've had some great guests. So again, make sure to go on either anywhere you do your audio streams, iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, Spreaker, Stitcher, Google Podcasts. Make sure to follow it. Check out all the wonderful episodes. This episode coming up is with Tulley Rafferty. He is a game designer by trade and a creator from Telltale Games. He started to make his own game, and Viral Media Network helped to produce the video elements in the game. So you can check it out on Steam, and we'll talk more about it, but it's splintergame.com. And so that's the evolution of the podcast. So since then, Viral Media Network has become more more developed. We got a couple more people in the last several months that have sort of had their own life changes and really what's valuable to them, and they've come on board with Viral Media Network, so they're helping. So shout out to Jeremy Neal and Holden Hardcastle. We're going to make this a better Viral Media Network, and I already have, because you noticed, I've got a Stream Deck, and I am super smooth with my graphics. Now, if you watch our weekly vlog, it was daily when we first started the vlog. So that was the immediate content I started creating. I was like, I'm not doing anything. I'm not working. I'm going to do a live vlog every day. Well, that got too crazy. So now we do it weekly, every Friday, across all of our social channels. It's right there, Viral Media Network, viralmedia.network on Instagram, Viral Media Network on Facebook, LinkedIn, and Alignable on Twitter, media_viral, or my personal Twitch page at DJ Lumberjack. But make sure to follow us there. And it basically talks about, what we're doing to develop more strategies with Viral Media Network, more stuff that's coming up. We got more live streams developing with Oak Central, and also some other live bands. We're going to have some live music streams in the works, and also working with Surfrider Foundation to develop their live end of the year event live stream. So we got events there, we got developments there. Make sure to check it out, and of course our website is down there at viralmedianetwork.com. And check out our vlog. And you notice, if you've watched our vlog, I'm usually pulling up these graphics with my mouse, and I'm clicking through, and I'm But now, thanks to Stream Deck, look how quickly I can bring up graphics and bring down graphics. Okay, so there's our YouTube page, Viral Media Network 415. And again, as you can see, we've got 92 subscribers, 8 more to get to 100. So we want to thank every single 92 subscriber that subscribed to our YouTube page. We're slowly building. And what's great is, since the pandemic, and since we made a concerted effort to really up our social media game and our YouTube page and doing more podcasts, I think we've increased our subscribers by, like 10 or 15 subscribers just in a few months. So we're starting to get a little traction, and we really want to thank you. I also want to bring attention to a project that we did that's going to be redeveloped pretty soon. I think we're going to rehash it. It's the Variety Society. So make sure to subscribe to that on YouTube. It's the Variety Society on YouTube. And what that was an old late night talk show that we did, and it was part fake news, part talk show, part sketch comedy, live performances. We had a DJ. It was great. So I think we're going to start to redevelop that. So stay tuned for that. And again, I am Sam, DJ Lumberjack. We have a great episode with Tulley. Now, Tulley comes from a rare perspective of, he isn't fully freelance. He's not fully entrepreneur. He decided to do this game while also working full-time at Twitch. So he elevated from working at Telltale Games to now managing a team at Twitch. And what he does at Twitch is very interesting. So we talked to him about his time at Telltale Games, what he does at Twitch now, how he managed to take some time off and work basically, full-time at Twitch while also producing and developing this game called the Splinter game. So here it comes. We want to thank Tulley for being on the show. It's the Sam Jack Podcast. I'm not a professional, but wait, I am. Thank you so much for joining us. And here it is, our interview with Tulley Rafferty of Splinter game. Viral Media Network presents the Sam Jack Podcast. I'm not a professional, but wait, I am. Today's guest, game designer, producer, and programmer from Hobo Studios, Tulley Rafferty. Welcome to the Sam Jack Podcast. Ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls, children of all ages, it is I, Sam, DJ Lumberjack, and this is the Sam Jack Podcast. And on the show, we have today Mr. Tulley Rafferty, and he is a creator, he's a game designer, he is an executive producer, he's an all-around, and the quintessential guest of the show, because he makes his own stuff, he carves his own path, he's a creator. Tulley, welcome to the show. How you doing, buddy?
I'm doing all right. Thank you for having me, Mr. Jack. How's your life going? How's the little baby?
Pretty good, you know how it goes. I think you recently said don't have a second child. It's like, I don't know. We're thinking about not soon, but it's kind of on the table. But yeah, we're fastly approaching her second year, and she's walking and talking and growing every day. So how that goes. And during these crazy times, it's hard to manage. Have you had to deal with any of the distance learning stuff?
Oh yeah, I have a 5-year-old who's just starting kindergarten now, and it's a challenge. It's we've got a backyard school that we created with our neighbor, because all of our neighbors are like, we're all in the same school. So yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
I have friends. So
we're
so
just
they all
doing.
collectively go and they work together, because I have friends that are like trying to maybe forego the complete like public education and just try to create like a pod within their community. Are you doing that at all?
No, so as luck would have it, we have like all of us are in the same kindergarten. Like we go to this like special kindergarten, and it just so happens that like the two neighbors, like one across from us and one two houses down, they're in the exact same class as us, and then a couple other neighbors from around the way. Um, so we're just doing this local pod, we're just getting it done. It's not easy, but trying to get by one day at a time.
That's good, man. I mean, it's tough, like especially because we were under. I felt like it was almost easier during the actual quote unquote shelter in place pandemic or whatever, because we were in. So now I feel like we're kind of more of a gray area. You know what I mean? Because it's like we're not in shelter in place anymore, but we still have to wear masks, and some things are open, and some places check your temperature. I don't know. I feel like it's almost very auspicious times.
Yeah, it's like it's open but not open, and like I had a guy. I was loading stuff in my car at a grocery store, and one of them was this big like cardboard thing of wood, and I'm loading in my car, and the cardboard rubbed up against his car, and he gets out and starts screaming at me. You scratch my car with the screaming at me. Meanwhile, I'm like, this is just a cardboard box, okay? Your car didn't get scratched, and he's not wearing a mask, and he's screaming at me like 3 feet away from me, and I'm like, dude, maybe put the mask on before you scream at me for a non-existent scratch in your car.
Yeah, the hypocrisies all around are very rampant, and it's really crazy how things are shaking down like that. But are
Quite
you
an
coping?
environment to put a game out. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah. I want to get there. So one of the main reasons I had you on the show is that you are a game designer, and you just came out of the game that my company, Viral Media Network, quick plug, helped produce. But tell us about sort of your background quickly on how that got started. And it's kind of a game. It's kind of a video story. It's interactive. It's experimental. Um, Talk a little bit about it and how it's different than a traditional game.
okay, so I mean, the background is this is something I've been kind of toying around with. I worked at Telltale Games for a long time. You might know them from such games like Walking Dead and Guardians of the Galaxy and Batman and whatnot. I got really interested in this idea of render to texture, where you have a camera that's shooting something in the world, and it's taking what it's shooting and putting it on a texture of an object. And one thing you can do with that is what's called a video texture, where you take a movie and wrap it around an object. So while I was kind of obsessed with that idea, I started like proofing out this idea, because I've worked with Sam and you guys doing these 48-hour video projects. I've done a lot of film. Me and the other producer, Eric Bra, um, we've been doing a lot of like just film projects. We made a feature length movie almost exactly 10 years ago to the date that Splinter was released, interestingly enough. So I've been really interested in film. Professionally, I've been very interested in video games. So I had this idea to kind of merge the two and make this sort of video game movie hybrid. I played games like Gone Home and Dear Esther and the so-called walking simulators, where you just sort of wander around an environment and get a story told to you through that environment. So I was kind of fascinated by the notion of like, could you show a movie in that same way? And that's where Splinter came from. And we we did a lot of work to kind of proof it out. And anyway, there's a lot more to it, but like that's sort of the origin story of where Splinter came from.
Yeah, and for me, I think the game that really resonates. I know Seventh Guest was a popular one, but for me, when Myst came out, that was a real eye opener into the sort of options you could have for like it was a puzzle game, but it was also you felt like you could just sort of do anything in this world, and that it was frustrating because there was almost no instructions, but you had to figure it out, right? And that was the appeal of it. It appealed to that sort of intellectual level of having to think more than just go through a set of prescribed, even though they still might be a prescribed way of doing things. You have to go one way, but the way it was presented to the player is that you have this sort of larger scaped, and it opened up to games like Minecraft and things. I mean, you would know more than me because I'm not an expert in gaming, but
it's funny you mentioned Seventh Guest actually, because my general pitch for Splinter is it's got this game Gone Home. I don't know how many of your listeners are familiar with Gone Home, but it's a very, very successful, very popular indie game. My original pitch was Gone Home meets Enter the Void, which is, again, I don't know how many people know Enter the Void. If you are at all interested in cinematography, you need to watch Enter the Void. It's an amazing movie. It's by a guy named Gaspar Noé. It's an unbelievable movie and a huge influence on Splinter. Anyway, my original pitch was Gone Home meets Enter the Void, but a more accurate pitch is Seventh Guest minus the puzzles meets Enter the Void. Because Seventh Guest, even though it came out, I think it came out like 93, 94, but it had that sort of like making a movie in a video game kind of like shtick that I kind of latched onto here, what, 25 years later, 30 years later.
Yeah. Yeah. And but the aesthetics talking about so is Enter the Void like this sort of cyberpunk, because it definitely has a feel, because I'm a huge Philip K. Dick fan, and I know you are as well. That sort of post-apocalyptic, there's a hacker space, right? It's a group of hackers that are like
transhumanist hackers. Yeah.
Transhumanist hackers, excuse me.
So that's actually not really Enter the Void. The thing that Enter the Void really kind of lend itself to is some plot points, and really like it was the aesthetic that I gravitated to. Like, again, like I think it's the most compelling cinematography of the 21st century, that movie. I just think it's unbelievable. And so that's really kind of where the look of Splinter comes from. But yeah, I'm like, every time I watch that movie, I get something else out of it. Like, I'm just blown away by how they made it. Like like scenes, I'm like, what did you do? How did you do this? Like there's a psychedelic sequence early on in Enter the Void that I'm like, I don't know how you made that. And I've talked to like top VFX people in the video game industry, and they're like, I don't know. It's wow. It's just a jaw-dropping psychedelic sequence, and I couldn't create anything like even remotely as cool as it, but I wish I could. And that maybe my next game I'll be able to.
So what year was that film made, Enter the Void? You said
2011.
Okay, so it's relatively new.
Well, relatively. I mean, 9 years old now. So.
Right. I mean, because you say greatest film, but of the 21st century, we're only talking 20 years. Because, like, if you want to talk about groundbreaking films in sci-fi and aesthetically, I'm just saying that the field is a lot wider if you consider the 20th century as well. But I'm not taking anything away from.
No, I specifically said the 21st century.
Yeah. Because I was going to say, I mean, I wouldn't say it's visually the greatest. It's a pretty well made movie, but I don't know if you're familiar with Videodrome.
I've not seen Videodrome.
Yeah, but conceptually, it's about there are concepts in there about machine and flesh sort of melding together, but not in a scientific like surgery way, like in a mind melt kind of uh, uh you know kind of an osmosis way of like it happens through the connection that you make through the machine. This guy gets sort of obsessed with the video drone. I mean, you have to see the movie to sort of but he's kind of becomes he's able to sort of become one with machine. And
Yeah, I'll have to see that. I mean,
it's good.
in terms of the themes that Splinter explores, I don't think Enter the Void is all that congruous. I stole a specific plot beat from it, and I am heavily influenced on the visual style, but like the themes I think are different. Maybe Videodrome is closer to the themes that I'm using than Void is. There's also apparently I didn't know this, but there was a graphic novel called I forget what it was called. Something about I don't know. It came out in the early 2000s about transhumanism. Somebody pointed it out to me recently. I forget the name of it, but that is something that probably should have been an influence, but wasn't.
Yeah, but I mean,
Videodrome sounds like it might be in that same ballpark.
Thank you so much for listening. This is Sam Jack, your host. Make sure to subscribe to us. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or wherever you get your podcast. Just search the Sam Jack Podcast. Thank you so much. You can find us on YouTube. Our channel is Viral Media Network 415. The playlist is the Sam Jack Podcast. I'm not a professional, but wait, I am. Check out all the other great playlists on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the interview. Talk about the experience, because I know you have video experience, you have gaming experience, but to kind of meld them to, because you've made games before, maybe not for yourself. Like, what was it like venturing off on your own and deciding, like, okay, like I can do this. I have the resources. I know the people. I'm just going to go for it. Like, what break down that kind of decision process and developing that.
Yeah, so it started out as an idea that I had. I thought it would be cool. I was working at Telltale, and I actually pitched it to Telltale. I wanted Telltale to make it. I thought, because it was at a time when I felt like Telltale was stagnating, and it turns out it was stagnating, and they wound up collapsing about a year later. Yeah, but I just had this notion of like merging, because Telltale was already very narrative focused and very much like you're playing this sort of narrative that unfolds in front of you, and you have some, like, you can like nudge it along as it goes, but the story is going to keep going. So the idea of putting something like Splinter, which is just basically a movie told in bits and pieces around you without any real like player agency, that I thought that would fit right into Telltale's kind of thing. And I was like, this is a way that we can keep Telltale's core focus on story games and still kind of like push the boundaries of experiments. So I pitched it to them. They passed on it. Then, like I say, a year later, they collapsed and I was laid off. And so I was like, well, like the core of my idea is film a movie and make it in a video game environment. And because of the work that I'd done with you, Sam, and Colin and all the other people on the 48 hours
Eric,
stuff
Justin.
that we had done. Yeah, Eric, Justin, exactly. Like we had made a lot of like what I felt were really high quality films in a really short amount of time. So my feeling was I could leverage that and put together, maybe 40 minutes worth of film over the course of 4 weekends, 10 minutes a weekend. It wouldn't take that much like buy-in from everybody. The way I pitched it, I'm like, why don't we just do 4 48-hour film festivals? Everybody does that. If we just bang this out in the course of a couple months, I think we can get this done. And then we make the movie. I make the game because I had wanted to learn Unity, and Unity was well suited to this task. So it
Yeah,
was just
and
sort of
for those that don't know, Unity is kind of the platform for all major, not, I wouldn't say all games, but for a lot of games, it's a uniform platform that people can use. Correct?
definitely for indie games. A lot of indie games like Unity, it has a really nice kind of. It really kind of has that meeting of like easy enough to use and really powerful. Especially for the kind of game I'm making. Like if you're trying to make, a 60 FPS Call of Duty clone, you're probably going to want to use Unreal or something like that. But for something where I'm doing, which is not like CPU intensive, Unity is a really good choice. And at the time, it natively supported video playing on textures, which other engines did not. So it was well suited. And I just felt like it was something we could do. And it was something like I was trying to kind of make something that showcased my creative side. I've been an engineer for 15 years in the video game industry. And I'm like, I want to show that I can like do game design and create a full product and not just limit myself to the gameplay side. I thought then this was a great way to do that.
Yeah, it's definitely it's definitely a motivation for someone like me who's kind of been in the same role, but in the broadcasting realm. More of as a technician, audio guy, hooking up the cables, making it all work behind the scenes, but not really being able to be creative. And so that's why, to do a project like this, or like the 48-hour film festivals or whatnot, it's definitely a good opportunity. So for all those out there that are interested in doing projects, just remember, just go for it. The money will come, the funding will come. There are strategies for that, but this is about being creative and coming together with people that you've, like you said, you've worked with in the past. You've gathered together a network of people, so it's really inspiring to see. And not to put anyone on blast, but talk about some of the challenges. I know that we had, someone that was signed up to be the director originally, and kind of had a falling out, a difference of opinion. I don't want to go into details there, but just in the regards of when you have setbacks like that, and not necessarily for the game design side, but for the shooting the video, the film side, we almost came to a screeching halt. So talk about those challenges and how you persevered through and were able to make things happen.
Well, we had a lot of challenges. I mean, what you're describing was one of the. I mean, this was personally like I was going through my kid. We've discovered right around when we were filming that he could not handle like school, and so we had to put him. We had to put him in. First of all, we had to like take him out of school, and just me and my wife would just cover hours for him, and then like we had to like try to get these different schools. We were like, anyway, we had this whole saga with that. Then we had what you're describing, which was we had the guy Sal, who was originally going to be our director. He got into an altercation with the director of photography, who also happened to have all the equipment that we needed. And so it was one of those things where like they basically came to a point where I had to pick a side, and I had worked with Colin for like almost 10 years. I knew him really well, and I had just met Sal like 3 months ago. I mean, he helped, he worked kind of on the writing a little bit, and he had directed the first. It was the sad part is it happened right after the first shoot, where we did I broke my shoots into 4 scenes. I had one location, and we just banged out every scene in that location. And we did the first one was the living room, and Sal directed the living room. And after it was done, I was like on this big high. I was so excited. The shoot had gone well, the acting had gone well. And then the next day, I hear that like Sal and the camera, Colin, the DP, had gotten into it. I was like, "Oh, okay."
You're like,
And
how
then
did
we
that
like,
happen? Like,
yeah, I was like, I thought everything had gone great. And we have this meeting, this like, we're all on this thing, and we're like, oh, I didn't realize this was so fucked. Can we all just get along? And then Sal and Colin were like, one of us has got to go. And I was like, well, I don't know what to tell you. I've been working with Colin for a long time. He has all the equipment. I don't know what to tell you. And Sal was like, I guess I'm out. So that was not fun. And right after that happened, the location for our second week vanished. We thought we were going to do the same location that we shot the first week. We thought we were going to do the second week, but that turned out not to work out. And so I had to, in 1 week, find a new location and assume the role of director, which Sal had taken.
that was fun, right? I mean, how do you, I mean, I thought you did pretty well to just step into the role. Obviously, it was your vision, but some of the more technical stuff of directing, I'm sure, was a challenge. So,
I mean, I had the fortune in that I had a little experience because I made Blake's, like I said, I made Blake a feature length movie that I directed about 10 years ago. So I did have a little experience in that realm. So that was not the hard part. I mean, once we got the location and got everybody on board, then we were okay. But there was like 2 days there where I'm like, I think this thing's going to like collapse. I was having like, I was literally having like panic attacks. I was like, my chest was like collapsing. It was not fun. Would not recommend.
So how do you get through something like that? I mean, what's your secret to keeping your glow?
God, I wish there was a secret. There is none. You just put your head down and you charge forward because there's nothing else to do. The show must go on.
Thank you so much for listening. This is Sam Jack, your host. Make sure to subscribe to us. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or wherever you get your podcast. Just search the Sam Jack Podcast. Thank you so much. You can find us on YouTube. Our channel is Viral Media Network 415. The playlist is the Sam Jack Podcast. I'm not a professional, but wait, I am. Check out all the other great playlists on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the interview. Yeah, and getting back to more your personal life, if you don't mind. How's your son now? Is he doing better with school?
He's doing great. We got this, like I said at the top, we have this like dome school in the backyard, and we have the neighbors' kids there, and he's like getting along with them. It's unbelievable. The change between then and now is astronomical, and it just warms my heart seeing him like playing with the other kids.
Yeah, I have a friend that's going through that. Their older son, they have two boys, and their older son really is having challenge. Towards the end of last year is when they started this sort of Zoom call. Because that's when it happened. That's when this whole pandemic happened. Was the end of last school year.
Mm-hmm.
And so he really did not jive with it. He felt like people were watching him. That's when I mentioned, they're trying to form a pod, within their own community. They have families with similar ages. But any other advice you might have to other parents that are dealing with it? Luckily my child is quite not at school age yet, but there's a child care issue of like being able to put your kid in school. But
I don't have any advice because it's going to be different for every parent. I mean, we are super lucky in that like we have this kind of core neighborhood group that we've hung out with, and like since I literally have a picture of the three kids that are in our group when they were like all within 2 months old of each other.
Oh, that's great.
Like one of them was just born, one of them was 2 months old. They've known each other their whole lives, and that has really helped us. But like, you just got to do what's best for your kid, and like do what's best for your kid and try to keep your sanity. Those are the two axes that you're trying to keep on, because if you're not sane, your kids are going to suffer. So don't sacrifice that. Is what I would say.
Yeah. So, all right, that's fair enough. And what have you guys been doing? I mean, you've been working because you work full time at Twitch, correct?
I do.
And so balancing that and working on the game, how is that able to happen? Because me being a freelancer, I don't know what it's like to say, hey, I just work on my own projects when I'm not working freelance style, when I don't have gigs. So how do you balance that with your full-time kind of 9 to 5?
That has been a real challenge, and it was a major challenge from like March to June, because that was when like Splinter, I was like really trying to get it out the door, and like I was so like burnt out on working on it. I'm like just trying to get it done. It was one of those things where I just had to make it work. I would work on Splinter at night. I'd do my work during the day, and then at night I would come in, and my wife wouldn't see me. It would be like, I'd get a little smooch and go down and work, and then maybe on weekends I would see her every now and then. But it was just like a treadmill of work and kids and Splinter, work, kids, Splinter, and occasionally like I would hang out with her. It was really bad. The pandemic really made it a nightmare. I would not recommend trying to do a side hustle game with little kids and a full-time job. Do something else.
Yeah.
Put it on hiatus.
So you didn't take up like sourdough bread or any kind of hobbies, because that's kind of what where my head was at, was like, I had all this time on my hands, and not only restarting more viral media network projects, but the garden and all this stuff. So that was not an option for you, I take it.
I would get so angry at these people who would be like, oh, I do sourdough because I don't have anything. I'd be like, I have 6 jobs. Fuck you. Sorry, am I allowed to swear here?
Yeah, it's a podcast, man. You can do what you want.
Right.
I was gonna say, man, you should have called me up, because I was not working. So, but you were very gracious, because you allowed me. I'm not really a graphics guy. I'm more of an audio camera op, and video editing, of course, that kind of thing. But you allowed me to practice a little bit of my graphic stuff, to do some of the 2D poster art in the environment. So I appreciate that.
You did. They look great. You did.
Thanks.
You did the Ascender flyers.
Yeah, I tried to run a
like,
theme of like deep ascension, which doesn't make sense, because deep ascension, I don't know.
Yeah, I like
rave theme names. Yeah.
No, I got it. They look great too. If you look, they're all custom built, and I used every single one, I think.
Cool. And I was able to make that little fist. The fist is definitely very generic. We see it on a lot of things, and with the thunder, I thought the little lightning bolts would work. And then
it's great.
We were able to work it out on a fluorescent tattoo, so that was fun.
We got on the fluorescent tattoo. We got it on the in the dance hall in the game. You see it on the big backdrop there.
And I made that in spray paint. I made that whole logo in spray paint. I think we even gave that away as a raffle prize during the wrap party, which is a lot of fun.
Right. I think we did. You're right.
Thank you so much for listening. This is Sam Jack, your host. Make sure to subscribe to us. You can find us on iTunes, Spotify, SoundCloud, or wherever you get your podcast. Just search the Sam Jack Podcast. Thank you so much. You can find us on YouTube. Our channel is Viral Media Network 415. The playlist is the Sam Jack Podcast. I'm not a professional, but wait, I am. Check out all the other great playlists on our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much. Let's get back to the interview. Tell me, I don't know if this was on purpose or an accident, but Obviously, we're in crazy times, not only with the pandemic, but socially. There's a lot of upheaval. You see a protest every day. Unfortunately, it seems like more and more. I don't know if it's more police brutality or we're just seeing it more. I sort of think the latter is like some of this stuff has always gone on, and social unrest, and the game isn't really about that, but it kind of alludes to that sort of idea or the culture of the subculture of the anti-establishment, the group of hackers in your game. They're not necessarily social justice warriors or anything of that nature, but there is sort of a subversive anti-culture nature about them. So talk about sort of that you always and how that sort of correlates with what's going on today.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I've been like, sending this around now, and one guy commented, he's like, "This is the first game I've ever played that really like presents an underground culture in a authentic way." I think a lot of video games struggle to do that because underground cultures, they're kind of slippery and they're kind of weird, and a traditional game has trouble capturing that. So, I mean, one of the things I think that Splinter does really well is presenting a collective that lives in our world, but outside of the norm of our world. Um, and so, I mean, I don't think there's any like BLM or anything going on in it, but like, I do think it presents sort of the techno underground in a way, in an authentic way that kind of gets to the heart of what they're going for, what their kind of worldview is.
Yeah, totally. And you haven't we weren't able to get any footage to throw in there. Not like it really would have gone with the game, but it would have been interesting to maybe tap into some of that energy.
Yeah, it would have been interesting if we could get some B-roll of the shit going down now. I don't know exactly if I could have worked it in, but it would have been. I could have probably done something.
Yeah, totally. So, what's next? Are you thinking about doing more? Is this something that intrigues you to do more of more games, or sort of develop this idea into something more robust, or where are you going with this?
I would love to do more. I'm really proud of Splinter. I'm really proud of what we all did, and I'm definitely going to be submitting to the independent games festivals. Everything's been delayed because of COVID, so
Right.
things that like IGF normally closes submissions at the end of this month. I think that's probably going to push, because I think they're going to push until June, July. So as far as Splinter goes, it it's getting very well received amongst the small group of people who seem to engage with it, which I'm really happy with. There's some key indicators of like certain people who I really respect. I've looked at it and gone, wow, this is really like kind of groundbreaking in this specific mold. So I'm really happy with that. People seem to be digging it once they get a handle on it. So yeah, I mean, that as far as Splinter goes, I think the next step is the festival circuit. I'm going to be starting to submit it as soon as the festivals open themselves up. As far as like next projects go, this one took a lot out of me. So
You gotta let it breathe a little bit, right?
yeah, I'm gonna be taking some time out. I know you just sent out a thing about another some film 48s coming up or whatever.
And that's a little bit less, because it's only for a weekend or whatever. But I totally understand. Like,
I think I'm gonna sit those out. I think I'm gonna wait and probably till 2021 before I start taking on any new projects. Like, this
fair
game
enough.
took everything I had and more than I had, and I really need a break.
Yeah.
Like, I need to just have 6 months where I just don't have this thing hanging over me. Even if I do start up a new thing, I likely will not be the showrunner the way that I am the way that I was with Splinter, because it was just too much. Being this like the sole owner of this thing, I'm gonna have to do some sort of
really
collaborative thing.
Yeah.
It's too hard.
Well,
It's too hard for me while I have a separate job and kids.
Totally. Well, these film competitions are really collaborative, and a lot of them we've done. You know, the one I did recently with this film sprint, it's a buddy of mine, Jeremy. We did it all remotely, so everyone shot their own footage on their phones, and so I was kind of directing remotely, and it was really interesting. It was fun, and you know, I don't know if you remember Nicole or Offie that we've worked with.
I definitely remember Nicole.
Yeah, and they did a great job. Eric did a great job. He did the voiceover, and my buddy Holden helped edit and whatnot. But so there's one coming up that's just a weekend, but there's one coming up in October that's like a week long. And, you know, I might entice you because I feel like we could bring the band back together. I think every time we get sci-fi, we do a good job, but we always we try and be a little serious, but there's always some sort of satirical.
Right. It's always like a silly sci-fi. Yeah. Right. Like a Hitchhiker's kind of sci-fi.
Yeah. We could never not be. I feel like even in, you know, I definitely think Splinter is a serious, but you know,
yeah, Splinter is not a comedy, which is weird because my whole life has been comedy.
But with Marcus in there, and you know, I play a goofy raver. You know, there's a little bit of comedy in there, so it works out. But
that is true. You are the best goofy raver who doesn't have any lines, who gets kicked and
stabbed. I try to stab. They thwart my stabbing, right?
Yeah.
I try to sell drugs. That's what I was trying to do. I was trying to sell drugs, right? Of course. So, yeah, man. So you're just going to be rocking at Twitch. Talk about, like, you know, where is Twitch going? Because I know with everyone's streaming now, you know, like, you know, the whole like DJ side of me, everyone that's DJing is trying to DJ and do that on streaming, and people are, you know, Twitch has been around. Streamers are like, where have you been? We've been doing this, right?
Yeah, I mean, Twitch is going bananas now with COVID. Like, it's sort of weird to be at a company where you're like, COVID's the best thing that ever happened to us. It's like, you're like, okay, way to profit on other people's misery. Yeah, but it's going really well. Like, Twitch is like going crazy. So I work for I don't work for Twitch, actually. I work for Twitch Prime. So little history, like Amazon bought Twitch, and Amazon has Amazon Prime, and Amazon's money-making venture part of Twitch is Twitch Prime, which is now Prime Gaming. It used to be Twitch Prime, and now it's Prime Gaming.
Got you.
So what we do is I work on this thing called the Crown Channel, and we do these crazy shows where it's like, let's get T-Pain and Action Jackson. Action Jackson is like a famous streamer. Let's get T-Pain and Action Jackson together and play, you know, some weird game, and let T-Pain just do T-Pain things and like see what happens. And like, that's kind of what our show is. It's fun. It's weird. We do weird stuff. So I'm an engineer. So I do the interactive beats to it. So what Twitch has is, while you're watching Twitch, we have these extensions that you can interact with. So instead of just watching the show, you can actually like interact with the show. And so that's what my job is, and that's what I'm trying to do.
So that's like in the chat
interactions.
That's in the chat.
No, not in the chat. It's like when you're watching it, there'll be a little thing in the corner, or even like the whole screen will be like a video game that you can play while you're watching the Twitch stream.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So it's not quite augmented reality, but it's that kind of
it's augmented Twitch stream.
Yeah. Right. I don't want to call it augmented reality, but
it's not AR, but for
it's that kind of technology where you're not just watching, you're interacting with.
Exactly. What it is an interface to let you interact with a show that you're watching on Twitch, so that, like, for me, like, I want to make it so that, like, your shows, while you're watching them, you can, like, interact with them and make and change them and make them show different stuff. That's what I want to do.
Totally. Man, that's cool. I mean, where do you see that going? I mean, there's lots of streaming going on, and I mean, like you said, it's now almost too commonplace to be like, hey, I'm streaming. Like, how do you differentiate between all the noise? And
Well, the thing that I really want to do is make it so that the viewers can control the show to a certain extent. So, like, imagine the simplest version is like, okay, so pretend that this is a robot right here, right? Imagine that you could watch me while I'm streaming and make that robot do things like wave its arms and fling around and spin around in circles and stuff like that. And there was an extension that you controlled that could do that. So I'm streaming, I'm doing my stuff, and the robot's flinging around. Now extend that imagination and imagine that, like, you're watching a game show and people are running up a ramp, and, like, the viewers can make the ramp go faster by clicking this thing and make it harder for the guy to go up the ramp. Or if you want him to go up the ramp faster, you could be like, I want to slow it down to make the ramp go faster. So it's like a fight between the viewers, whether or not they want the guy to win and that kind of stuff. That's where I see it going. It's like the viewers are controlling what you see on the show.
wow, that's pretty cool. It's sort of the next level. And I mean, yeah, I mean, I think viewers are looking more to more interactive stuff. I mean, obviously with gaming and just the fact, I mean, for older folks that aren't really into gaming, they're like, well, why would someone want to watch someone else play a game? And so it's that younger generation that's looking for more, like I said, interaction, more layers to
Agency.
it.
The
More
word we use is agency.
agency. Gotcha. Yeah. See, I don't know. I'm not in depth with it, so I appreciate it. But I'm very interested. It's like just finding out what makes people tick. And like I said, you're carving your own path. Not only are you working for Twitch, but you're taking, what you learned from this game that you made in Splinter and applying that back to Twitch and where you see the future going with it. You're helping shape that with what you're doing with your show. So it's pretty cool to see.
Doing my best, man.
Yeah. And so you've been remote working. I mean, you were remote working even before COVID hit, correct? A little bit.
Yeah. So I when I started, I worked for Amazon, which owns Twitch. So yeah, I started out at Amazon working for this game called the Grand Tour game. So Amazon has a show called the Grand Tour. We made a game for it that nobody's ever heard of for reasons, but it launched like day and date. When an episode would launch, you would watch the episode and then you could play the game that was that episode. And it was a pretty cool game, and so that was what I started for. And then that that show ended and the team got dissolved, and here I am.
I mean, what's that transition like? I mean, when Amazon acquires Twitch and this sort of migration, like, what's that process like?
Well, I mean, I wasn't there when Amazon acquired Twitch. When I showed up for Amazon Games to make the Grand Tour, and then when the Grand Tour shipped, that was right when the Grand Tour shipped. I went on paternity leave. And then while I was on paternity leave, I was informed that my team got dissolved. And they were like, hey, there's this other team forming. They're doing this Twitch Prime stuff. Maybe you want to get involved with it. And I was like, sure, sign me up. And so I sort of like backed into it. And here I am. It's a really cool place to be. I think like it's kind of on the forefront of where people are going. I think like 5 years from now, you're going to see everybody on Twitch. So I think it's really cool.
Yeah, it's pretty interesting. I mean, that happens sometimes. You just come across things, you give it opportunities, and then with your experience and knowledge, you sort of meld things together and make it work. And
Mhm.
it's pretty crazy to see because yeah, things are changing every day, every week, every month, and some good, some bad, and hopefully, the digital divide is shrinking, and it's not just for I mean, I've already seen it. I think the democratization of digital technology has happened. I mean, especially in the gaming world. I mean, I know it's not the most diverse, especially when it comes to gender, but I feel like now compared to where it was, I mean, there's so many wide ranges of games for all sorts of people and interests and likes and dislikes and preferences, that you really see like a really diverse community. I don't know if you can speak on that or anything, or
Yeah, well, all I want to say about that is there's a large contingent of gamers who hate the fact that like women play games and people of color play games or whatever. And I just want to make sure that they all know that every single person who makes their games thinks that they're idiots. Okay? So just
you heard it
know
here first, folks. You heard it here first.
it we love women gamers. We love everybody who plays our games. If you are the type of person who thinks only white dudes can play games, go fuck yourself.
Yeah,
Okay?
straight up. That's
Like
coming from two white guys too.
yeah, I mean seriously, like games are for everybody. It doesn't matter if you like shooters or whatever. Everybody can play games. It's for everyone.
Absolutely. I mean, it's just ridiculous. It's
It's
and
dumb. It's the
yeah.
dumbest thing about video games, and there are a lot of dumb things about video games. So there's a lot of competition for that title.
Well, I would bring it back into how you were saying that you're really lucky to have a group in your community that you can share resources for, creating that educational pod. But I would say that a lot of people in their communities, they know people of the same age, have kids. It's like it just goes to show that wherever you are in your community, reach out to people around you, and you're going to find people with a lot of a commonality, and that pulling your resources together has always been beneficial, whether it be for education, or learning or whatever it be, or like you said, in the gaming community. I mean, it's just ridiculous to think that you know one technology is made for certain people. That's just ridiculous. I mean, um, you can't apply that to anything else. It's like saying like, oh well, only white people are meant to drive. Like right? It's basically the same analogy, right? It's like
Right.
it's so ridiculous when you apply it outwards, and it just shows you, when things change, people's comfort level starts to get itchy, and then that creates like a sort of angst and retaliation or aggressive nature to the people trying to make the change, I would assume. So I don't know.
Yeah, there's a lot of white gatekeepers out there who want to make sure that it's only like white dudes, but fuck them.
Yeah, I'd say that's pretty ridiculous. But yeah, man, I don't know, like I was gonna think of something else to say, but I think we covered a lot. I don't know, is there something else we should approach? Or
www.splintergame.com, man.
absolutely. And
Check it out.
I've been flashing that up on the screen. Any other words of wisdom as far as keeping healthy and sane during these COVID times, or any other advice for those other gamers out there, anyone else that wants to create and produce things?
I I highly recommend creating things. I highly recommend creating things of small scope if you're on your own. Make things that you can make to final. There's a huge difference between having 6 projects that you've half started and having one project that you finished. Like it's just a huge difference. So finish something. Take something and bring it to final You will learn a lot about yourself. It's an amazing experience. Do it.
I mean, I couldn't have said it better myself. I think that's a great way to end the show. So, Tully, thank you so much for joining us on the Sam Jack podcast, and the best of luck with all your, Splinter and any other endeavors. Given enough break that you have.
Well,
Folks, go check out splintergame.com. It's available on Steam. And if you approach us nicely and you do maybe a nice video review of the game, or you stream it like our friend. Oh, that's actually, you know what? I was going to wrap up the show, but I forgot to ask you, what did you think of Only Ryan streaming the game?
I loved it. I had a great time. I mean, he's an old friend of mine. I've worked with him for years and years at Telltale. When I hit upon this idea of like, I want to do a world premiere stream, he was the first person I thought of, and I was over the moon that he said yes. So I couldn't have been happier with the way that turned out.
That's great. And, I enjoyed it too, because he definitely took it seriously, but he also joked about it a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So I think, it's fun to do that when, he definitely got it, but, like the things like something about like, oh, you didn't get enough of the video, like the video enhanced games in the 90s or something.
Right. Exactly. No,
like,
he's a good sport. He was on our team. No, Ryan, and he's a great streamer. You should all go sub him. He's a great dude. He deserves it. He's put in the hours. So
for sure. And that, I was just alluding to, if you want to review the game or stream the game for your followers, contact Tully or contact me. We might be able to hook you up with a stream key.
Absolutely.
A Steam key, not a stream key. That's a whole different thing. That's for web streaming.
You have your own stream key.
I know.
I will give you a Steam key.
Yes. The R in there makes a big difference, but
crucial.
Cool. Well, Tully, thank you so much for your time. I hope you enjoyed it. I had a lot of fun, and everyone else, go check out Splinter. We'll see you at the next film competition, huh? How does that sound?
Thank you very much for having me, my friend.
All right, Tully, be well. Have a good night.
Later.
Thank you so much for watching the Sam Jack podcast. I, of course, am your host, Sam Jack. Don't forget to like us on Facebook, Viral Media Network. Follow us on Instagram, viralmedia.network. You can follow us on Twitter, media_viral. You can also subscribe to us on YouTube. Viral Media Network 415 is the channel. The playlist is the Sam Jack podcast. We're also on audio podcasts, iTunes, SoundCloud, Google Podcasts, Spreaker, and lots more wherever you podcast. Just look for the Sam Jack podcast. Thank you so much, and we'll see you next time.